How you doing, everyone? Welcome to Let's Get Stringing. What I have with me today is a Yonex Ezone Tour. It is 315 gram unstrung. Here you see Ezone Tour. A 98 Ezone Tour. It has 8 grommet holes through the throat, so we'll be stringing from the top. 16 by 19 string pattern. Customer is going with the Babla Excel 16 gauge string at 54 pounds full bed. This is the previous version, not the current version of the Ezone 98 Tour. Let's mount this racket with the Yonex symbol upright. Sorry about the water noise, they're doing laundry upstairs. Okay. We'll be doing 54 pounds full bed on this. Cutting the ends in a 45-degree angle will help weaving the strings through the grommet holes. So I will do 10% pre-stretch for the multi-filaments, and he wants 54 pounds. Okay. I haven't strung in like a week, so hopefully I still remember how to do it without making any mistakes. We'll see about that. Well, I have a hard time sticking this string through. Oh, there it goes. Huh. This 16 gauge multi-filament feels like it's 17. It does says 130 millimeter. I mean 1.3 millimeter, sorry. This racket only has one grommet hole skip that'll be coming up after this. So for our 8th string and the last string, we're going in through the 9th grommet hole, skipping the 8th grommet hole. That's the only grommet skips on this racket, and it's the same for both the head and the throat. And so this being the last string, I'm giving an extra 10% tension for the tie-off knot. The USRSA does not recommend, nor do they forbid tie-off knot tension. It's just not something that they recommend, I think. Oh, I forgot to pull this at extra 10%. Alright, before I tie off these knots, let me plug them for the sound. Perfect. I should mention that before I mounted this racket, I did wrap both the main section, because I'm stringing this 2-piece, so I cut them in half, the 40-foot worth of strings in half, and I wrapped both the mains and cross section around the pole in my basement. I used my body weight, gave them a gentle tug using my body weight. Just a little tug, not too much, just a little. You notice how much the machine clamp backed off right when I released it. That's because the extra slack that was in the head before I tied it off. That's why it's important to kind of slide it back and forth a little bit to reduce some of that slack. However, with soft strings like natural gut and multi-filament, you also want to be careful not to pull too hard because you could snap them, especially the thinner strings. And an experienced stringer also has told me that the knots that are used in racket stringing are what is called the even after they're tightened, they should be able to slide back easily when you're cutting them off. In fact, sometimes when they don't come off, you know, with one yank, it's because of these knots holding it in place. And a lot of times you're able to use the plier to actually pull on the knot to slide it back, and then get them undone that way. So we're ready for our crosses. Run them through in my hand to detect any damages or kinks, and also at the same time trying to straighten it out a little bit. Certain strings come with a lot of coil memory, and they contribute to the crosses end up having some either smiley face going this way or smiley face going that way if the strings start off too curly already. So I always start from the third available grommet hole for the cross string. As I mentioned in my early videos, the reason is to reduce the amount of wear and friction that's created by not having to run through the full portion of this cross string and having them rub up against the main strings. So doing it this way from the third and then the second and then the first string backwards, I'm only running the front portion of the string without, you know, the rest of the long side having to rub up against the mains. Even though it takes a little bit more time to set up this first three strings, I think the end result is worth it. This color reminds me of the same kind of blue color that they put on their Babla VS Gut, because in certain areas where the clamping pressure is too much, either from the machine clamp or from the track or tension gripper, they turn more white like this. I don't know if you can see. There's more pale and white portion. That means they've been clamped on. And if they've been clamped on too hard, like this portion, you will see. That's an indication that you need to back up the clamp pressure by the adjusting it down. So I know I have enough cross string for sure, so I'm not being too stingy on the length that I leave on this tag end here. See, I leave it more than enough length, because I know that the cross strings for a two-piece, especially for a 16-19 string pattern, they usually run shorter than the main strings by like a foot approximately. One guy also told me that I shouldn't be double pulling these first two strings. So, matter of fact, I'm going to redo this, because I've always been just pulling only from the second string on. It's out of habit. So let me change this up. By repulling from the first string then. So now there's 54 pounds of tension on the first string. So let me pull the first string again before I tie them off, and I add a 10% tie off knot tension. Well, he told me they're called slip knots. They're meant to be able to slip, so I shouldn't be pulling them too hard is the message. So I hope I'm doing it to his satisfaction now. I'm not yanking it too hard. Since these strings feel pretty smooth and easy to weave, I'm going to be weaving a few through. Like, this is a hard weave. I don't normally do this one because it's against the up and down nature of the main strings. It's always recommended to pre-weave just one string ahead. But since this string is kind of soft and easy to handle, I don't mind doing the hard weave. The downside of doing it this way is that once you make a mistake, it's kind of a mess to undo. Because the amount of loop that I leave on both sides, it helps to move the strings after you pull tension on each of them. So it can be a little bit of a mess with all those loops on the sides. So to keep things simple, I recommend just weaving one ahead. So it looks like on this side it's always going to be hard weave. As you can see, it's more difficult for me to push the strings through. And on this side it'll always be easier because there are soft weaves on this side. Okay, that's all I'll do for now. So I'm coming back to pull the 4th string. It's this one. As you can see, that's why it's important to leave those loops on the side, because I'm essentially moving the smiley face the other way. And if you don't have any loop, it's hard to pull on them. And you have to sort them, otherwise they get tangled up. Okay, we're about halfway through. Let me quickly fix my string bed with my cigar string owl. I don't know what kind of owl it's called. I got it from the Walmart website, of all places, believe it or not. It's very tiny. It only sticks out maybe 2 inches. So I've used it once. Find it pretty comfortable for the hand. I always try to move the main strings out of their notches or dents first, before the notches, the dents become too permanent and it's harder to move them later on. And then sometimes it might help to lock the turntable so they won't spin on you. Like this way, it's not moving. So you can quickly do it like this. And I've seen these stringers in the head string room on pro tournaments. They do it this way too. So don't think I'm stabbing at the strings and damaging them. No. If you do it right, there's absolutely no concern about it. See, I have another DIY homemade thick one like this. It has its advantages. It's more leverage, but then it also stick out further, so it's less maneuverable for the wrist, I guess. And you can't move it as quick. So that's good, and I can continue with the rest. Okay, see it. before I tie off this knot. Let's check for any misweaves or mistakes. And they're correct. So I'm going to tie it off on a cross string here. Over under through. These are all what it's called a Parnell knot that I'm using. Let's put it this way. Make sure the string on the outside is not crossing over any existing strings that's on there already. Really have to organize my tray. Too many things gets put in the tray here. Maybe moving the main string, I can see that maybe a bigger and fatter L will work better. But moving the cross strings, the small one, works quite okay. This upper portion I already straightened out before. That's it. Very good. All done. And on to the next racket. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe and leave comments below. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.